Well, Lord Frost with a major intervention today. An important speech, I think, at Policy Exchange on the Northern Ireland Protocol. And not just because, of course, Frost was the man in the room, Frosty the No Man, during those negotiations with the European Union. He gave a great deal of context as to where the UK, where the British government found itself in those negotiations with the EU. But also, of course, because Frost, who has certainly a lot of respect from Brexiteers, I know a lot of people who watch my channel, big fans of Lord Frost, has even been mentioned as a potential candidate at the Wakefield by-election, a critical by-election, a Red Wall by-election. Conservatives are pushing for Frost to be the candidate. Now, whether or not that happens, we'll have to wait and see. But his speech today was trailed in the Sun, talking about what the British government now has to do moving forward. And as I said, in this speech, I'm going to show you a clip of it, made it at Policy Exchange. He talked about, he gave the context, as I said, of where the British government found itself in negotiations. His message basically is that the protocol has to be renegotiated or removed. And of course, for a long time, we've heard the government, including Frost himself when he was in government, talking about the possibility of triggering Article 16. But that, of course, ain't happened. We're hearing more murmurings now about what the British government could be doing. But I know for many of you, it's a case of we've heard it all before. We want to see action. And Frost sort of lamented the fact that the EU hasn't been willing to work with the British government to improve the protocol, and even talked about, Article 16 maybe even having to be used more than once, and that if the EU don't cooperate, then the British government will be left with no choice but to override key elements of the protocol. So here's a clip of what Frost said in terms of what the government need to do moving forward. Watch this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And would you like to see Lord Frost as a Conservative MP?
The EU is dug in so strongly against renegotiating the protocol. Their professed view that the protocol is the only way to protect the Belfast Agreement would be self-evidently incorrect, even if the protocol were not so obviously now undermining that agreement. Renegotiation would still be the best way forward. We, when I was a minister, put forward reasonable and workable compromise proposals, and the Commission have a full legal text from us. Of course, the EU can, if they wish, say what we have, we hold, even though even now, of course, the protocol is not being fully implemented. But it's not obvious to me, anyway, why it's in their interest to be significantly co-responsible for the destruction of the Belfast Agreement, unless, of course, the EU define their interests differently, as maintaining leverage over the UK, causing us political difficulties, creating incentives to keep us closely aligned with the EU. That would certainly explain observed behaviour, and it's a reason why we cannot wait forever in the hope of improving the protocol by consent. Fourth, finally, if the EU is not willing to work with us to improve the protocol, then I think the government has no choice but to act unilaterally. Personally, I've never had any difficulty with doing that at the right moment, and nor, I believe, has the Prime Minister. One option would be to act in a fairly limited way, to remove the current pressure points, first by using Article 16, perhaps more than once, as new difficulties arise, and to create new facts on the ground, but also by making clear that it was the UK's intention to secure a negative consent vote in 2024. There's nothing in the protocol which will prevent us doing this, and it would be unarguably legal in all respects. It may be that the situation can't sustain the current tensions over so long a period. If that were to be the government's judgment, and I have no knowledge of this, I think it would be entirely reasonable, in my view, for the government to act unilaterally to override key elements of the protocol in domestic law. In so doing, it would be safeguarding its higher obligation to the Belfast Agreement.